Hello, hello, my love. I hope this finds you doing so well. So, you're listening to the Feminist Wellness Podcast. You're showing up, you're devouring all this stuff about regulating your nervous system, feeling your feelings, cultivating safety, knowing your limits, setting boundaries, speaking your truth, all of it. And it all sounds really exciting. But there may be a part of you, as there was a part of me, that's like, hey, what's on the other side of all of this? Because all this work, I trust and believe in this sort of inherent way that it's going to lead to somewhere great, but where exactly are we going? What's it going to look like, feel like, taste like, be like? Because I want to know, because this part sucks. And it's true, right? Like, yo, learning to sit with righteous, sacred anger, it's not cozy, especially when you've been socialized as a girl in this culture, right? In this Western setting in which many of us find ourselves, right? Where we're told not to be angry, right? It's unbecoming. It's not the way good girls experience life, right? So, learning to feel the feels can be really challenging. Learning to sit with the discomfort is uncomfortable. I mean, legit by design. And so I think it's really fair to be like, what what does this look like? I want to model, right? I want to be able to see what the other side of emotional outsourcing looks like for others. Where did they start? Where did they get to? And what was the journey like for them as a way to sort of not just benchmark, but help us ideate and dream and conceive of this new future we know we want, but don't really know what the other side looks like. And so, to that end, it is with, as always, great delight, privilege, honor that I will be sharing with you starting today and several times over the coming months the stories of some folks who've gone through my 6-month program, Anchored Overcoming Codependency. If you're new to the show and you've not heard of Anchored, it's a program where we combine somatics or body based practices, nervous system regeneration, rewiring, restructuring, regulating work, holding space to feel all of our big feelings, along with mindset work, because the intellect matters, thinking matters, our mindset matters. It's not just body, but it's also not just mind, right? It's all of it. And we combine it with breath work because breath work is dope. And we dance a ton because how incredibly lucky are we to have human bodies? Let us experience joy in the collective towards the goal of living lives, authentic lives we love, where we can ride the waves of sadness, sorrow, distress, disappointment, frustration, anger, all of it alongside the joy. Yeah. And so we can build neural grooves that allow us to support ourselves, to resource ourselves, to show up for ourselves and our communities without the old habits of emotional outsourcing, perfectionism, people pleasing, codependency that keep us stuck in that hierarchical, really painful, chronic habit of sourcing our sense of safety, worth, value, and belonging from everyone and everything outside of ourselves to our own detriment. So instead, we can live more interdependently. This is what we do in Anchored. Oh my goodness, is it a blast? And the transformation that the people, the women of Anchored go through are just absolutely mind blowing. And so I am thrilled to share their stories with you in the hopes that you can see yourself in the before and the during and can dream towards that after. Yeah, and that during, I mean, we're all in the during, right? Like what even is after? But I think you get my point, right? I no longer experience myself as emotional outsourcing on the regular. And like, wow, I would not have thought that a decade ago. I would not have thought that when I was in an abusive marriage. Like, I would not have thought that I would be here where I am living in such an amazing way. So, I would not have had a model to live towards. And I know that today's very special guest will be a beautiful model for you. So, without further ado, here we go. Mary, hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm so delighted to be here with you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Yay. Would you tell the good people your name and where you live, sharing a land acknowledgement if you know whose land you're on?
Sure. My name is Mary Anjone, and I live in the Massachusetts area in Norwood, just outside of Boston, in Wampanoag territory.
Beautiful. So, Mary, what lights you up? What are you most passionate about?
Mm. I'm passionate about teaching and learning, especially about mind body stuff. And I'm passionate about my family and raising great kids. And yeah, that feels like it kind of fills my life right now.
That's so beautiful. I know you're also passionate about coaching, which is something you've recently brought into your world.
Yeah, that's a developing interest. I've been a teacher for a long time. I teach chemistry, and I've been teaching a very unique elective called Body and Mind. And we do a lot of body mind science, immune system, nervous system, circadian rhythms, epigenetics, microbiome, like lots of great stuff. And then we do a lot of practice. So yoga, meditation, Tai Chi. I've had parents at back to school night say, oh, I wish I could take a class like this. And I've been thinking like maybe I could create something, or maybe I could do my own coaching with adults. So yeah, and that's like there's the winds of transition were blowing for me as I was listening to your podcast, and was one of the reasons that I hopped into Anchored.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's a great segue. So you were recently in Anchored. Why did you decide to join? What interested you about the program and doing this work?
So I think it was an interest in like having a greater sense of ease, especially in transition and generally in life. So working full time, raising kids, it's a lot on one's nervous system. And I remember talking with you about, you know, about coming in and like that I can get very up in my head during the day. So I think that translates to getting very up into that stress sympathetic response. And I can get very into like back into my body. Like I've long done Tai Chi and yoga and meditation, but it felt like I couldn't stay with myself during the day. And then I don't have hours of recovery time in the afternoon anymore because I come home to my kids, right? So yeah, I was looking to have a sense of being able to stay with myself during the day. I think in parlance of what you talk about, it's like that staying in ventral vagal. And for me, that has like, as I get better at that, there is a greater sense of ease in the day. I'm like more creative. I sort of meet the moment differently. Like there's less forcing of things. I could give you an example.
I'd love an example.
Okay.
Examples are the best.
So my 4-year-old likes to pretend to hatch every morning into a different animal. It's very cute. He often hatches into things that don't technically hatch, but we're okay with it. It's like suspension of disbelief, right? So the other day he hatches into a fish. And then he got out of his bunk bed and literally proceeded to belly crawl to the bathroom and back, which is adorable and takes a long time. So he gets back to the room and he's like busy being a fish. And right, if I get all up into my head, it's like, okay, it's time to put your shorts on. Please put your shorts on. You need to put your shorts on. Put your shorts on. Like, can we just like, and he's like this little guy, like living his best life, being a fish, like knowing how to be in the moment. And for me, when I'm like more in the like calmer spot and I have a better grip on like what's happening in my head, I can just kind of be like, hey, little fishy, why don't you show me how you swim into your shorts? And then he's like, okay. It reminds me of like I've never done improv, but that like yes and like I'm better able to roll with things and kind of direct the current or like go with the current than when I'm just in like I have to get this done and I have to get that done and then I have to get the next thing done. And then before I know it, it's like I'm stressed out. No one else around me is having any fun either.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that example because one of the things I often hear from folks is if I don't go into sympathetic, if I don't go into fight or flight, if I don't start yelling at the kids or start rushing them, or like if I stay calm and chill and in ventral and present in myself, nothing's going to get done around here.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, let me see you swim into your shorts, little fishy. Right? Like,
Yeah.
that's such a great example of you staying present with him, intentional with him, loving with him, right? Keeping your nervous system regulated so it can co-regulate with his nervous
Yes.
system. But like, also, let's be practical and real, right? Like, you're a scientist, I'm a nurse, you're also a teacher, right? Like, we are practical animals. And like, sometimes the fishies need to put their shorts on and like get on the
Yeah.
bus, right? But we can do it from love and from connection instead of from shutting down their joy.
Yes.
That's
And for
so
me, it's
good.
also like, like my mind will tell me like we have to be somewhere on time. And like, I mean, in this particular case, it's camp. So like actually we don't. I mean, I want my alone time. I really do. But like it's actually not urgent. And I also feel like what's been great is like continuing to develop the sense of like that I trust myself. So
Mm,
like we're gonna get his shorts on somehow. As best as possible, we'll get out of the house on time. Like this kind of like we can do this.
yeah. I love that. And I feel like I have so little access to we can do this when I let myself go into
Mhm.
unbridled sympathetic
Mhm.
or obviously dorsal collapse, where it's like, there's
Yeah.
no way we can do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
A
I
very
love
different place. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you're
Yeah.
modeling non-urgent living,
I'm trying.
right?
It's
Yeah. That's
getting
so
better.
good.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So what else? What were you struggling with that led you to say, I want to join Anchored. I want to spend 6 months with this little weirdo doing thought
This
work and
person who
somatics
calls
and
me
breath
a
work.
little ravioli.
You are a tender ravioli, Mary. It's the truth.
Well, I think that's another thing that occurred to me was that so confidence wise, I've long been very confident intellectually, like in the classroom and that sort of thing. But it was like a confidence with those sort of more vulnerable parts and recognizing in if I want to work with people, maybe one-on-one or whatever I decide to do, like I, it matters that I be able to be kind of heart forward, right? Like I meet the world differently that way. People meet me differently that way. And that just takes a certain confidence in those more tender parts. And the inner child work was really great because it was like kind of falling in love with me at 5 to 8 years old and thinking of myself as I see my kids. And then recognizing that a lot of time when I'm getting anxious or nervous or worried, that it's just like 5 to 8 year old me who's worried about someone else being displeased or upset, of me getting in trouble, or of somebody being mean. And it was like this, okay, well, like I am an adult now and like I'm much more resourced. So like could just take a moment and let my nervous system settle and remember that I'm not 5 to 8 years old anymore. And then, what started to show up in meditation was like just images of me like giving that little girl a hug who used to like climb trees and swing off a garage roof. I was like, yeah, I was bold. Like, I don't know. So that was really that's been helpful. It's just a recognition of that. And then I was looking for some tools in transitioning because I'm thinking about making kind of a big career move. I've been teaching for a very long time. I made a big change in my 20s from kind of corporate life to deciding to teach. And I knew at the time, like kind of deep in my soul, that it's what I wanted to do, needed to do, and was going to do. But I was like, it was really stressful. Like I literally got sick to my stomach the day that I returned my company car. Like it was just hard on me, like physically, emotionally. And so I think I was looking for a way to move my mind and like my nervous system to a place where I could get to a different feeling or sense of like what I could do or what was possible without so much stress and pain about the whole thing. So the bridge thought work actually was really cool for me.
Yeah. Can you share with folks what that is? I haven't done a
Yeah.
podcast on bridge thoughts. I should. It's a
Yeah,
really useful
it's
tool.
really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
So I agree with this whole premise that your thoughts create your feelings. And I also believe that the state your nervous system is, like your feelings will create your thoughts, right?
100%.
So in thinking about making a career move, the thought that I've been having a lot, or was having a lot, was like, I'm crazy. And then like there were like all these satellite thoughts related to why that would be the case. So okay, so I'd like to get to this thought, like I could have a successful business. But like it was pretty clear that I didn't believe that yet. And I know sometimes you practice things and you believe it, but my system was like, I don't know, like making faces at me. So the bridge thought is like finding a thought in between. And so I literally drew myself a picture. I drew this bridge that I later thought about, like, that's a scary looking bridge. Like it was like a big, one of those bridges like that goes over a water that a train passes, like really high with no railings, but that's what I drew. And then in the middle, it was like me, and you gave me this nice little nugget, which was like, I'm open to the possibility of. I'm like, okay, I can have that thought. Like I'm open to the possibility that I could have a successful business. And it just helped being like, okay, like I don't have to go from here to here today. Like I could just live here and see what shows up. And then it was cool that I drew it, because then I was like, okay, well, even if it doesn't happen, like I'm not going to plunge to my death off of this bridge. Like this is a very dangerous looking bridge. So maybe I could imagine it more like just like one of those bridges going over the muck on a trail, like if I fall off, I get muddy, but I'm not dead.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
lowering the consequences, right?
Yeah.
Because that helps bring us out of sympathetic, of course, and into ventral vagal with ourselves and with the possibility of the new thought.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think bridge thoughts are such a beautiful gift because they are so much more aligned with the way our nervous systems actually work.
Yeah.
And one of the ways I see thought work, or folks using thought work sort of against themselves, is by picking a new thought and then deciding they're going to do it and then beating themselves up if they have any thought other than that thought. And I
Mm-hmm.
just like, we need to stop doing that to ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not loving, it's not compassionate, it's not kind, it's not curious, and it's not science, right?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't give your system like time to develop that window of capacity, window of dignity that you call it, like to just to get your system like like adjusted to a different place, like that's a little
Right.
bit like moving towards the other thing
Right.
without having to expect that you have to take a giant flying leap and like land there safely right away.
Totally. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it aligns so well with something we talk about in Anchor that I talk about here on the show a lot too, which is that healing isn't linear.
Yeah.
Right. And that you may step into belief around a new thought for some period of time. And then that old cassette tape comes up and is
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, no, you don't. Oh, right.
Yeah.
And we have to hold space for that,
Yeah.
for the fact that this is a process. It is
Yeah.
slow and steady work to completely rewire a brain and a body. Right.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
what's nice about working with a group over 6 months is you get to see other people in their process and be in your own and just feel supported in that period of time, and it doesn't feel urgent, like I have to have this like done in a month. It's like, okay, 6 months, like that's a good amount of time to move my thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the group. Can you talk about what it was like to be in the group, what it was like to be coached in a group? People get really nervous about that.
Yeah.
From our thought habits, we can be very protective of our vulnerability and our
Yeah.
tender
Yeah.
underbelly. And so people are like, but who are these strangers who will hear my deepest, darkest? So I'd love to hear how that
Sure.
was for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really wonderful group of other women. I think you attract people who are very genuine, very authentic, interested in whatever brings them to Anchor. And you create a great space for that, which is a real talent of a coach. And it was webinar kind of style most of the time. So if someone wanted to be coached, they would either, let you know in advance or raise their hand, and you were always double checking that people still wanted to be coached. And then they were brought up, so people are working one-on-one, which was really nice because it's like I was able to witness what was happening, but I think the person being coached, or when I was being coached, I didn't feel distracted by other faces, and I could sort of just forget that other people were there. And I didn't have to be coached until I felt comfortable in the group. And then, we had a Slack community, so that was fun too, because we could discuss things that we'd noticed, or, we had a music channel, which I thought was really great for me. I unexpectedly, like, I really got into like listening to particular songs. And yeah, and then we did like later on, it was fun to do some whole group, like everybody up who wanted to come up and just do some like whole group conversations about topics that were of interest to the group. But it was a great way to do it. And I feel like there's things that I wasn't thinking about for myself, but I recognized when someone else brings up or wants coaching on, and then can see how it applies to me. And because I'm off screen and just listening, or listening to a recording if I wasn't there live, that I could just be with my own reaction to, or the things that it brought up for me about how it might relate to me. Yeah.
Yeah. It really, I get why people are scared at first, right? Or
Yeah.
nervous or worried. But yeah, to your point, it is just such a group of kind, lovely, genuine, authentic tenderonis. It's tenderonis,
Yes.
right? It really is just a group of sweet, soft underbellies who just want to learn how to love themselves and really support everyone else. It
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, I can think of some specific times when really challenging things came up for members of the community, and everyone was
Yeah.
just there for them, right?
Yes.
We're probably thinking of the same things, but
Well,
yeah.
there's a lot of emotion that can come up, and
Mm,
stuff that gets trapped in the body and is can be hard to release. And to
mhm.
be around people who are just willing to be with it and kind of absorb it, like it helps take it away, right? Nobody's like, you're doing the coaching, nobody else is trying to fix or solve anything for anybody. Everyone else is just like here for you to listen. And lots of people, in the chat with like, I'm with you, witnessing you, I relate. Like, it was great.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
I'm gonna
sweetness.
miss the group. Yeah.
I know. Every time a group closes, it's just, oh, right? Because
I know.
we love each other.
I know.
Yeah, but you'll get invites to alumni breathwork and a dance
All
party
right.
coming up soon.
Oh, that's exciting.
Our
I missed
dance
the last
parties are
one.
right. Our dance
I
parties
forget
are
why, but I
epic.
couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I've got to make
Well,
it. Yeah.
yeah, they're so much fun.
Yeah.
God, so much Paula Abdul, so much Gloria Estefan, so much vintage
Yeah.
Prince. I mean, Lizzo,
Yeah, we're
obviously.
the
Come
same
on.
like age range. So
Right.
like all of those, it's like all of those tunes where I know the words and I don't know why I know the words. They just
Right?
were on the radio when I was a kid,
Yes.
and I like know them all.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
My
stuff
kids are
from
like,
like
what is this song? And I'm like,
you're like, quiet now. Shh. This is
let mama
Prince. This
sing.
is sacred time. This is the gospel according to CNC Music Factory, and I'm gonna need silence for this.
That's right.
Oh my goodness, good times. Yeah, I mean, I think that just brings to mind how much fun we have in Anchored, you
Yes.
know?
It
Yeah.
was a good time.
Yeah. We do some deep work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we have a lot of
But
fun.
it's
Hmm.
nice too to like have that juxtaposed, right? That like you can do deep work and it doesn't have to be like super serious all the time, right?
Totally.
That actually there's again like an ease that comes with it when there's a little bit more playfulness with it.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, there's so much research on play. Like it's how mammals learn.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. It's true. And you and I
Yeah.
love our research, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Love an evidence base.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you say the transformation was like for you before Anchored, when you were in the program, and now as an alum?
Well, yeah, I just feel like I'm kind of on my way. Like, I think when I did the application and it was like, where would you be in a year? I said I would be on sabbatical writing a book, which isn't quite it, but I'm taking a leave of absence from teaching, and I've got a couple clients that I'm coaching, and starting to think about what like a course might look like that takes my work that I've done with my body and mind class and makes it accessible to adults. And I feel good about it. Like I have moments when I'm nervous, but I'm not like, it's not the like sheer terror. And that's I've had to work with my mindset too around money and like that stuff to kind of give myself some time and space. And that's a big deal for me. because I'm not in my 20s anymore, and I have a family and we have a mortgage and that stuff. So I've been doing some work there. But yeah, I just feel like it's going to be a great year, and maybe I go back and teach some more, and maybe I don't. But I feel like I have the resources to explore something, do something creative for a while, like have an adventure. And what happens is what happens.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that. And what are the tools and skills from Anchored that you're leaning on now in this exciting new phase of your life, this new adventure?
definitely the thought work. So writing out, usually it's a whole bunch of thoughts that happen all at the same time. But if I start writing them out, there's usually one where I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one that's like driving the loop of like activation. And then having a chance to work with that one, like what's a thought that serves me better, that I believe, that helps move me in the direction I'm trying to go. So the thought work has been great. Also, just really being sensitive to what's happening in my nervous system, and recognizing that even if something feels really urgent, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. And like I can back off and like, an email or a situation, whatever, like I can take some time to let myself settle, and use some of the somatic tools we learned, some of my own practice in meditation or whatever, and then come back to the thing when my system is in a better spot to respond more creatively and more from the place that I want to, right? So it's like, because I recognize when I get all up and sympathetic, it's like I either blow something out of the water that's really not a big deal, or sometimes I miss things that are important but smaller, like both things. So yeah, that's been a big one for me, is just like if something is really getting me activated, just taking the time to let myself settle and reminding myself that the adult is running the show and not like my 5 to 8 year old self. Like she can have a hug and like just sit and watch, like it's all good. Yeah. That's been helpful. And then the other thing that showed up for me is just like more regularly asking the question, what do I want? And then saying what I want. And that's been really, it's been great. It's a little hard to explain, I guess, but it's like, it can get, it just gets busy with family and like just get into this thing where I'm doing everything that everybody needs, and like not stopping to ask myself, well, what do I want? And then reaching out to family and being like, Mama wants to go to the pool this afternoon. Oh, but I'm doing that. Like you played Minecraft all day yesterday. Today we're gonna go to the pool and we're gonna have a good time because I want to go to the pool. Right?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I hear the pause button, which I think we learned in
Yes.
week 6, 7,
Yes.
somewhere around there, pretty
Yes.
early, right? I always joke that we were not born with a pause button factory installed from our codependent perfectionist and people-pleasing thinking, right? We jump in to save the day for everyone.
Yes.
And like you said, then we habitually unintentionally put our wants, needs, and desires dead last.
Yeah.
Right. Which I don't know what that created for you. I'd love to hear. But for me, it created an awful lot of resentment.
I would echo that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Resentment and a lot of like feeling victimized in situations where I absolutely was not. Someone else just had a different want than I did that I agreed to from that unintentional place.
And it will create thoughts for me that aren't really true. Like I never get to do what I want, or I never
Totally.
get to do the me thing. And it's like, well, I'm not even asking myself what that is. I'm not even
Right.
trying anymore, you know?
It I know. But it like makes sense in our brain. It's like, well,
Yeah.
right, because we work so hard to mind read everyone else. Like, how dare they not mind read for us?
Right.
Right.
I bought myself a literal pause button.
Oh my God, that's
Okay,
amazing.
it's actually was like, it looks like one of those Staples buttons, and it
Yeah.
actually, if you have it on when you press it, it says hell no in a whole bunch of different ways.
Oh,
Like
that's so
hell
funny.
no, survey says hell no. And this was dealing with some stuff where they got emails where I was whatever.
Right.
But then when I turn it off, I put on a sticker on the back that says later yo. Grew up in New York, so
Yeah.
later yo. And like I would press that with it off when it was like
Oh my
just
God,
pause,
that's
like
so fun.
just pause. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a similar
Fun.
pause button on my desk. I can't find it in this perfect moment, but Yeah, I just have it right there to remind myself of what you said. Like, very little good comes from being, no, no good comes from being insympathetic when it's not warranted, right? Like,
Yes.
if a bear is chasing you, please go to sympathetic, but most of the time, coming back to ventral, to the
Mm-hmm.
safe and social part of the nervous system, we're going to get so much more done, and with so much more love and peace and ease. And I love that you kept naming responding versus reacting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, quite the skill, eh?
But it was nice to have a with the button, right? Like I can have a reaction in the moment that's kind of like just smack that sucker. And then it's like, now I now I'll just back off for a little while, calm down. But it was nice to have something to do in the moment to help drive off like some of that stress urgency, like complete the stress cycle in the moment.
Exactly.
And
I was
then
about to nerd on that and say what
yeah,
you're doing there is processing out that motivation, that motion potential, that
yeah,
activation potential, right? Because sympathetic tells our bodies it's time to run, and so we often need to do something physical where we're pushing, where we're hitting the button, but we're doing something physical to complete that stress activation cycle. So that's so dope. I love that you said yo, which made me think of the 90s. So I get to say dope. Somebody
oh,
needs to
sweet.
say that's rad pretty soon, or we're gonna get in trouble with the 90s patrol. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've been collecting the sayings from the last couple of decades teaching.
I love that. Oh yeah,
Yeah, so those
totally.
show up now too, like it's lit.
Oh wow. Yeah,
I
you're
think
hearing
fire is the new one.
kids
The
these
fire.
days. That's so funny. I love it. Teaches knowing what's hip. I love it.
Can't really use it though because it never sounds authentic.
Because you're not 15. I hear
That's right.
that. I
Mhm.
get that.
I can do cool and wicked because it's my
Oh, come on. Wicked
my
is
era.
bread and butter.
Bread and butter.
Yeah, bread and butter.
Mhm.
I love it. So, Mary, what would you say to someone who is having some nervousness or some trepidation about joining the program? Either the group aspect, not knowing what coaching is like, being scared to make change, to make the investment, all those things that come up for people when they're like, "Oh, do I do the big thing?"
Yeah, I think writing it out is really valuable to just see it on paper and seeing if there's a thing or two that your body tells you like is the thing or two that's in your way. Filling out the application in and of itself was thought provoking, which I think is a great structure you have in place. And then chatting with you was really helpful. Like there were some things you pointed out just right there for me about certain black and white thinking. You were talking about like had it like sort of like golden handcuffs or like Les Mis, and I'm like, okay, right, right. There's definitely an in between place for me, so that was really helpful. And then taking time after if someone speaks with you, like I needed a little time, and you were very like gave me lots of space. You checked in eventually, but like let me be in my process about it for a while, which I needed to be, which I think is fair. Like it's a big investment, but it also gave me time to. I think one of the thoughts that I eventually shared with you was like, been poking around and listening to podcasts and checking things out, and this for me was finally like, okay, like Yoda came to mind. Like there is no try. It's like I'm either gonna go for it or I'm not, and I'm sort of tired of spinning my wheels about things, and like I'm ready to like get unstuck. Yeah. So write it out, fill out the application, talk with you, and you're not gonna like force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. Like it's not your style. So, but I think people might worry about that. Like if they're filling out the application and talking to you, like to be able to say no at that point might feel hard for some people, and you're totally open to a no. And
Yeah,
and
I
then to a
welcome a
later
no.
yes if it
Yeah.
switches.
Yeah. What, I always tell folks is to feel into their bodies about whether this is the right decision and whether it's the right time. And like, I don't want anyone to join Anchored who doesn't want to be there. right? It's a
Yeah.
community of people who are thrilled and delighted for the opportunity to be part of the community. And if someone feels anywhere from there's the uncertainty that comes from, again, our conditioning, our socialization. I'm not worth it. Who am I to spend this time, this money, this energy on me, right? I should be focused on my kid, right? Those stories, we can question all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
like when your body is saying life needs to change, listening to that is the most important thing. And joining, like you said, from a whole heart, that's all I ever want. And frankly, the work I do, when someone says no to me on a call, I'm so thrilled for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's them standing in their power and saying this isn't the right thing for me, or I'm not available to do the investment right now, or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
like, I literally cheer that on. Like, I
Yeah.
start clapping because that's what I feel in my tenderoni heart of like, way to go, you. You could have just people pleased me right now, but you didn't. And that
Right.
is so dope. And we need to celebrate that so hard, right? Like, joining Anchored is amazing. Not joining Anchored is amazing. Like, whatever the best choice for you is the best choice. So, yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Cool, cool, cool. And when you look at your life now and you think about life after Anchored, are you happy you made this choice? Was this a
I
good,
am.
yeah?
My kids are going to go back to school and I'm going to be home alone.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of laying the foundation to have stuff to do and like have some income, but like I am so excited because normally right now I'd already be back in like, oh, I'm going to go back and like starting to think about all the planning and the like. So I feel very free. And
Hmm.
I go back and forth between being excited and a little bit nervous and like having my oh shit moments, but like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's normal and natural and human of you. So,
yeah.
yeah, I'm really excited that you joined Anchored, that you got what you wanted and needed from the program. And I want to thank you again for being such an amazing part of the community and the collective and sharing all your wisdom, your meditation, just
Mhm.
everything that you brought to the table and to the community was such a gift. And I really just want to thank you
Mm.
in this very public way. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I am curious, where can the good people learn more about your meditation, your coaching? How can they follow you? If you have a newsletter or anything, how can they connect?
Sure. So I have a website domain on which there will be things appearing shortly. It's
Delightful.
it's Whole Healthy Wellness. So
Ooh,
whole WHOLE healthy
beautiful.
wellness.com. And I can be reached at an email address at that name now. It's my first name, Mary underscore last name Angione, ANGIONE at wholehealthywellness.com.
Perfect.
So yeah, I'm working on that like public front facing stuff.
That's so
But yeah,
exciting. Yeah. And how wonderful to do all of that from Ventral, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Huge
yeah,
shift.
yeah.
Yeah. Yay. Anything else you want the listeners to know before I release you back to the wild?
Hmm. Yeah, one other thing I was going to say, and it may have come up sort of as I spoke, but it just a sense of greater connection with other people and especially with my kids, and one of them in particular who just really seems to sense when I'm open and available or not. And I think his love language is much more physical, like coming in for the hugs, but like he does it when I'm available and not when I'm in like I got to get shit done now mode. Like so that's been really meaningful to me too, and like not something that I necessarily had in mind. I mean, I think I
Mm,
did have the whole family dynamic in mind, with not wanting us to be like super stressed out all the time, but that's been really valuable. And when we were talking about the group stuff and you like applauding those, I also appreciated, I don't think I ever did it, but what you say about coaching, which is like you get 3 fuck you Vicks
per call.
per call,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm. Come on. I cut to the
sometimes there's
quick when it's needed. Come on. I'm not
right.
shy.
No,
Yep.
you are that nurse efficiency right there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't fuck around with the nurses. Like I learned that in the
Oh,
NICU.
yeah.
They were
Oh, yeah.
amazing and they don't mess around.
we declined the opportunity to mess around. Thank you very much for the
Yeah.
offer. But yeah, I love that. So you love that there was the opportunity to say fuck you, Vic, or
Yeah, like you don't like I didn't need to be happy about the coaching. Like
oh God,
doesn't
no.
mean it wasn't the thing that needed kind of like I think about like acupuncture, right? Like it's like it is the pressure point.
Mm-mm.
It hurts a little sometimes. There's like a reaction to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know that. Like
Oh
that's fine.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the best coaching, I think, is the coaching that makes you say, fuck, that was terrible. And I hated it. And it showed me exactly what I needed to know in a gentle, loving, kind, compassionate way. And then you help me to get to the next thing. Right. But the more real and truthful the coaching can be, I think the better, you know, and I think this work for us as coaches is so incredibly vital because we can only take our clients as deep as we are willing to go.
Mhm.
Right. So, yeah, here's to hearing more fuck you, Vix. And soon enough,
Yes.
fuck you, Mary. So that's my dream for you. That
Thank
is
you.
my, yeah, you're welcome. I love it. I love it. Well, thanks again for being here, Mary. I'm
You're
so
welcome.
grateful for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.